anybody has not picked out a class yet, if you wanted to have a quick discussion.
Yeah, I would. So we've got one person who wants to be the wizard.
Yes.
I was thinking about maybe
Go
being
ahead.
a cleric.
Okay.
Cool.
So we have a
So we got
cleric and a magician.
our finger wigglers are picked out. What is what is Theta thinking?
Sorry, I just realized I forgot to set audio stuff with the thing, so I've got that fixed. I'm good now. Somebody queued me into an expansion book for Torchbearer, so of course, special snowflake that I have to be. Human wolfkin.
Ah, cool. Okay.
That's what? That's
wait,
awesome.
You're human and your wolfkin?
Well, it's like you know how Romulus and Remus were raised by wolves.
Oh yeah, those guys are great.
I mean, it's like an extension of that kind of mythos. It's not. It's just an example I'm throwing out there, but it's.
No, I got you. I mean more that like human sounds like a kin, and so does wolfkin. Is there a class in there?
Yeah. That is the class. It's like I'm good at mapping. I'm good at exploring. I'm kind of that. I'm like your faux barbarian sort of thing.
Cool. So you're not an actual wolf guy, but you were raised by wolves.
Well, not really. Again, it's like saying that all Romans are raised by wolves because they have that Romulus and Remus mythos behind them. It's like,
gotcha.
What supplement is it in?
what's the one that you were talking about before?
Just a moment.
Freebooters, free traders,
freebooters and freelancers. Yeah.
Well, because I was talking about possibly being a skald before, which comes from the Middenmar, I think it's called.
Yeah.
The other expansion that Burning Wheel puts out.
Yeah.
And then Dan here told me about Dennis was talking about a different book, and I was like, let me look at this different book.
Yeah. Yeah, the Spirit Smith cleric. That's what I'm thinking about doing from Midarmark. Yeah. So that's cool.
Artificer was also jumping out at me, but I don't think that's a good first play kind of class. There's a lot going on there.
Okay, so I think everybody's decided on the classes.
What about Arcloid?
I've picked the Dwarven Adventurer.
Okay.
Gotcha. I'll go with the Halfling Burglar. Never played a Halfling or a Burglar, so we'll do that.
So we have a Halfling, the Dwarf. Wolfkin.
I'm assuming you can shapeshift into the wolf, right?
At like 10th level, there's an option for it.
Oh, okay.
All right, then. We're going to go right along with the character sheet if everybody's ready to continue.
I'm good to go.
Okay. The next thing we all have our classes is raw abilities. If you're might be handy if you're on Roll20 to bring up the cheat sheet I have. Actually, I think I had it in Discord for the characters. But next will be your raw abilities. Your raw abilities are your will and your health. That's basically all your mental abilities and your physical abilities. If you say going to resist something or do some kind of physical thing if you don't have a skill for it. Does everybody have up this sheet for classes? It was in Discord.
I have classes, single, and stock and race up.
So that's going to tell you your raw abilities. Usually it's just they can't go below 2 or over 6 to start. Some classes have a restriction on it. You can go ahead and put those into your character sheet.
Yeah, mine starts out at 4 and 4.
Okay.
Do we have a character sheet on Roll20?
Yeah, you should. I think I assigned one for everybody while we were doing things.
Who's Shinnin Ryup?
The only one that you should be able to see is yours.
I also see Seth.
Do you see Seth? Somebody might have assigned that to all players. Hold on, I think Seth is someone specifically because they put a token on there.
Yeah, Seth is me.
Let me just, here, I'll fix that real quick.
So Shinnin Ryup, who's that?
That should be
That
you.
would be, yeah, it just gives a generic name when you generate.
Oh, okay, got it.
Sheet.
Yeah, you could just change the name, otherwise it's like gobbledygook.
Yeah.
Okay, so
where is labor under skills?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm filling in my skills and it says laborer, but I don't see it in the list of skills in the character sheet.
We will get to that just a second if everybody's done their raw abilities.
I'm confused about what we have to do for abilities. We're assigning points, or we're actually rolling for them?
You're just assigning points. You have 8.
Gotcha.
You can't put more than 6 or less than 3.
What class did you go with, by the way?
I'm a burglar.
Yeah, and you saw on the burglar raw abilities thing what your option was, right?
I see will 5, health 3.
Right.
Yes.
So no option then.
Redistributed. So if everybody has the raw abilities set up, I will say that you have 2 more raw abilities that aren't shown. We will get to those shortly. One is might, and the other one is your nature. Like I said, we'll get to those shortly when we generate those.
All right.
The next thing will be your skills. You should have a listing of skills with preset numbers on them. Now, he said there wasn't a... Let's see here.
Has anyone played this before?
I have.
Nope.
I've played mouse guard.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is supposed to be a harder mouse guard, or a more mechanical mouse guard.
It's more procedural than I would say mechanical.
Well, I don't know. The very beginning of the book, one part I did read said that this is more complicated than mouse guard. They describe it themselves that way.
Yeah, they also say it's not their most complicated game, I think. I don't know what they did say that was.
Well, if this is the guys that made Burning Wheel, I could see that.
I mean, I've only seen elements of the Burning Wheel system used. I haven't actually played any of those.
I actually have the books for Burning Wheel, or at least some of the books for it. I've read through them a few times, and I still don't fully understand the rules enough to actually run a game for it, so...
This actually just works off of one base mechanic for everything. But, okay, so we don't have a skill slot for laborer. You can just go in at the end and press the add button and put in another entry.
Like laborer or something?
Yes.
Well, Archloid specifically was asking for laborer, because apparently he gets it. So, if you don't have laborer, don't bother.
I don't, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, for some reason they just didn't include it on this character sheet, apparently.
So yeah, my best skill is cartographer, which is why I say I'm the map guy.
That is actually important. We'll get to that shortly.
Yeah, another part of the rules that I actually did read was Please don't make a map, is what they say.
Yes.
Just
Now,
remember the specific points and write those down.
Yes. Actually, I'm going to make it easier. I do have a map that I'll simply reveal, and you can make a cartography check. But does everybody have their skill set up?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So the next thing is we're going to get our starting trait set up. That would be, let me see here, for the halfling is hidden depths. Hidden depths just represents that hidden fortitude, endurance that all the halflings seem to have.
I'm deep.
The dwarf is born of earth and stone, which I don't think I need to go into too far. Pretty sure we all know that one.
But I
The
don't know what it
wolf,
means.
basically, it just means it's more of a narrative descriptor. Uh, it just means you were born under the earth. You are stoic. You don't let any debts go unpaid. However, it can make you stubborn and hard-headed.
Okay, I can see that now. I thought it might have had some kind of like actual mechanical.
It kind of does.
effect.
They do,
It
but
does. What you use traits for is earning checks to do things during camp. You can use them to your benefit, but you can also use them to your detriment. When you use them to your detriment is when you get the checks.
I put the text of it in Discord for you. Traits.
Now the next one,
Or traits, there we go.
the Wolfkin. So I think I need to bring that book up.
Well, mine is based on which bloodline I choose. Either I have the sun bloodline or the moon bloodline. And I think I'm going to choose the moon bloodline. So I get the trait secretive.
Okay. You need to be filled in on secretive, or do you think you understand it?
I mean, one, I understand what the word means, and two, I do have the full text.
Okay. So next we will have the magician. Your trait is wizard sight. It means that you see into parts of the world that other peoples don't see simply because you utilize magic. It's not like a, say, mechanical thing.
Yeah.
It also means that sometimes things will notice you, or that you may not see things that you want to see.
Is it like I see dead people, basically?
You could say that. It's more left to you narratively when you
Okay.
trigger the trait. If you wanted to use it against you, it could be, I go to cast a spell and I see a specter standing next to the target and it throws me off.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's fun.
Kind of reminds me of the wizard's vision in Warhammer.
Yeah, that's what exact. I kind of was thinking that too, but in my head, it's like I see them, they see me. There's like a lot of fun stuff you could do with that.
Yes. As well as seeing things that you don't necessarily want to see. And the cleric, you are
Yeah.
touched by the gods. Do you have the text in
Yeah,
front of you? Okay.
I do. Yeah, and I have to pick a spirit animal, but we got to roll for that.
Okay. Let me bring that up real quick.
I think it's on page 47 of the Midarmark book.
Yes, it is.
I had done that when I thought I was going to be a skald, and I ended up with a house cat. There's a lot of options.
Go ahead and roll 2d6 for me.
What's wrong with a house cat?
Nothing. The skald, I I think can turn into whatever they're. What's the word? Fragaria or something.
Oh God, beast of the field. That's what I wrote.
Okay. Beast
All
of
right,
the
and
field. Then you will need to roll 1d6. And that would be a 5. So your beast of the field is a horse.
nice.
And your trait is proud.
Okay, so I put that there, and that's what I get the plus 1d per roll, right? That's
Uh,
the
for your trait.
yeah.
And you can use that for the 1d bonus, or you could use it for the penalty and get a check for it, which you will use during camp.
Okay.
Is the plus 1d per roll for all these traits that we have, or is it different for everybody?
It is 1d. If you look at your character sheet, if I'll pull it up real quick.
It also depends on the level of the trait.
Yes. You all should be level 1 traits, which
Okay.
is
So
once per session, you can use it to your advantage,
okay,
plus 1d.
cool.
Or you can use it against you to generate a check. Now then, weapons will be the next one, I believe. This is going to tell you what you are allowed to use. The dwarf is everything except pretty much two-handed weapons. Pole arms, bow, what have you. You need me to read them off?
Do you
Let
get
me
that?
know.
Do you get that right out of the gate? Like whatever it is you get?
Just think of this as your proficiencies right now.
Okay.
Yeah, there should be another column on the class overview that says starting weapon and starting armor, and those are the ones that you get.
Okay.
And you can do the same thing with armor.
Is there a place on the sheet that actually lists your proficiencies?
You don't really have proficiencies. That's what
No,
you
I'm
have
saying if
with-
we're considering these proficiencies, I'm just using the word in place of.
that would actually be under your class abilities.
Class abilities.
You may not have it on your character sheet.
Yeah, I don't see it.
It's on the backside, but you would have to fill it in yourself.
Well, hold on here. Let me just
look
turn
at
my
the
monitor over. Joke didn't land.
I didn't even realize you were trying to be funny.
inventory spell.
Robert's Revenge.
Yeah, all the way at the bottom of the character sheet. Level requirements and benefits. You would just write it in the benefits section.
Oh, okay.
Sword, spear, and crossbow. Oh, I guess also my armor. Wolf shroud, shield, and helmet.
Armor? What's armor? I've never heard of this thing before.
I think it's pronounced armoire.
Ah,
I'm not
yeah, that's where I
mistaken.
put my coat.
Yeah,
I had one
I'm
of
glad
those.
this game simulates that.
Yes.
Well, it simulates cooking a bit. So that's kind of important. And actually, cooking is kind of important in this game if you know how to do it.
I am a cook.
We need to keep
Now-
you alive at all times then.
Cook can actually take one ration and turn it into rations for an entire group.
Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome.
You just water down that soup.
Now, is everybody ready to go on?
So we got the weapons, armor, skills, raw abilities, and the trait. That's it so far, right?
Yep, that should be it. Moving
Where did you
on.
put the weapons again? Did you guys actually list it in here? I missed that.
Level requirements and benefits at the bottom of the sheet. Just your level
Got it.
1.
Mm-hmm.
But we
Okay.
haven't actually chosen our gear yet, right?
No. This is just what you're. Again, we're using the word proficiency as a stand-in for what this is.
Right.
What you're
Cool.
proficient with.
Now, when you pick equipment, it's actually where it starts to get a little scary for you.
I'm so glad I
boy.
only have one choice.
Well, you don't have any starting money. You get to pick whatever you want. As a player, that would scare me. But to move on, humans have a special skill
Oh,
that
cool.
starts at a rating of 3. You can pick from criminal, haggler, pathfinder, or survivalist. And that's just for the humans.
That's for the humans, right?
Just the humans.
I guess I'm in the same camp as Arcloid, because mine is Haggler, Laborer, Pathfinder, or Survivalist.
Yes.
Question: what does Pathfinder refer to?
That is when you are out in the open above ground and you're finding your way, searching for things.
And survivalist is
That's if you're, say, foraging for food.
okay.
I would say either that or Pathfinder's a clever allusion to Robert's game on Wednesday evenings.
Yes, very, very good. Thank you. No, I was thinking about picking both one of those. Either, well, I was thinking picking maybe either Pathfinder or Haggler. So,
Do we all pick something different?
If you're human,
you can pick
yeah.
something different, and yes, you can discuss it.
I'm gonna pick Pathfinder.
You're also a human, right?
Yeah,
Hilda?
I'm a human
All right.
wolfkin.
All right, you want to take Pathfinder then? You can have
I
it.
think it fits me.
What were you thinking, Dennis?
I don't know. What were you thinking?
Well, like I said, Pathfinder or Haggler, but if Data's taken Pathfinder, I was looking at Haggler.
Okay, and then I'll take the survivalist.
Alrighty.
Right.
I forgot what the other one was. It was like criminal or something.
Yeah.
And haggler. So someone's going to have the same one repeat it.
Yep.
Are we all human?
No, the three of us are, and then we got a dwarf and a halfling.
Ah, okay.
No elves.
That was actually
So
my second option.
So where does that go?
It's a
In the
skill.
skills?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what, do you get it at 3?
Yes,
Yep.
that's correct. 3.
Which is pretty good, actually, it looks like.
That's my current
Well,
second best.
What's a criminal?
If you're doing any kind of criminal activity, picking pockets, I would say stealth, things
Yeah,
of that
okay.
nature.
All right, I'll just stick with the survivalist. And you said we get a 3 in that?
Yes.
That's a question to make you scared. What's a criminal?
Yeah.
I mean, a criminal cleric would be pretty out there. It would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. What's
so
the
now we
survivalist again? I'm sorry.
That's if you're scrounging, just searching for, say, food, something like that, out in the wilderness or even underground.
Mm-hmm. We
In
have a
case you're-
halfling, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Halfling. I get. I don't know if these are exactly the same, but as far as skills go, I do have cook and I have criminal, but I don't have any of these nice survival skills.
Okay. Yeah, I'll stick with the survivalist. All right.
I do have a couple
Okay.
points in scavenger.
And now we are going to decide what everybody's home is. These are just general places. They're going to give you a couple more traits as well as some skills. You can come from dwarven halls, religious bastions, bustling metropolis, wizard's tower, a remote village, or a busy crossroad. And they are not restrictive. The dwarf could come from a remote village. The wizard could come from a bustling metropolis.
So I have a quick question about these skills. In places in the text, it seems like if you have a skill already and you take that skill again, it just bumps up that skill a point. Is that how this works with locations, homes?
That is correct.
Okay, then. I'm looking maybe at Crossroads. Busy Crossroads sounds like fun.
Okay.
The
And the skills are cook, haggler, and rider. and the traits are foolhardy and quick-witted.
I like it. This might be more of a narrative choice overall, but I think the character's coming along nicely.
Do you get them all, or you choose?
Uh,
It says choose one skill for your character from the settlements list, give it a rating of 2, or bump it up to a max of 4.
And one
you also
trait.
get to pick a trait. Yep.
Just
Where
bump
is it in the
there.
book?
in the
Page
book, it is on.
15.
Yes, thank you.
Now the Wolfkin also comes with its own home option of the Wolf Isle settlements,
Okay.
which is skills, Dungeoneer, Hunter, Sailor, traits, Loyal, or Greedy.
I don't think I came with that.
Which one?
The Spiritsmith? I don't think that was.
It wasn't a predetermined thing. He is
Yeah.
from a specific tribe of people.
Yeah, the
Right.
Wolfkins live on opposite islands on the opposite sides of a setting
So I
area.
could be from anywhere, right?
Yes.
So, what's the bustling metropolis?
The bustling metropolis, the skills you can pick from are Haggler, Sailor, and Steward.
Oh
The
dear.
traits would be extravagant and jaded.
I think on the traits alone, I might pick that. What is? I guess I'm assuming sailor is like actually sailing and using waterways and stuff like that.
Yes.
What is steward?
Steward is the people who I believe load the ships themselves, do all the work on the ships.
Also, you might remember the Steward of Gondor.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. I just want to make sure, though.
I can give that a quick check.
Might be like
Let me
doing work
see.
in another person's place.
Go to skills real quick.
By the way, for mine, I picked Dungeoneer for my skill and Greedy for my trait.
Nope, you are correct. I'm incorrect on that. A steward manages estates, businesses, towns, cities, baronies, and kingdoms.
You're probably thinking of a stevedore.
And sorry about that. Skill used by judges, stewards, guild masters, merchants, spy masters, abbots, bishops, and powerful lords.
Got it. Like in my head, I'm thinking like Wizard's Tower. Is like really on the nose. So I want to be a little different. So I think I'll actually go with bustling metropolis. Go with steward.
Okay.
Go with steward because why not? And you said extravagant. And what was the other one?
Jaded.
Ooh. I was thinking extravagant just because it sounds like really weird.
Okay.
Yeah, why not?
You do extravagant things, you dress extravagantly, but you might overspend.
I could see it.
How about the dwarven halls?
The Dwarven Halls. The skills for that would be armorer, laborer, or stonemason. And the traits would be cunning or fiery.
Tell me more about cunning and I've already forgotten the other one.
Fiery.
Fiery,
Cunning
yes.
and fiery. I'll give you a quick read on those.
Yes, sir. I couldn't find the books, so I don't have any reference yet.
Great. We had fiery. Is fiery souls know how to stir up a crowd, but they are quick to anger. And the other one was cunning, which is the cunning are adept at deceit and plotting traps. They are often either arrogant or, if caught at their games, known as dishonest.
All right. I'm a fiery armorer, apparently. And you said the skills start at 2, at least these skills? And you only get one of them?
Yes, you get one skill at rating 2. If you already have the skill, you can raise it by 1.
I got a question about busy crossroads.
Yes.
What's the rider skill?
Rider skill. Rider skill, I'll give you the exact reading on it. Rider. Knights, horse archers, and goblin wolf riders use this skill to ride and care for horses, as well as more exotic.
And then the traits, so you get one skill and one trait?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be busy crossroads.
Okay.
Where does that go on the sheet here?
On the very top.
On the very top. Yeah.
Is that everyone for your home?
Looks
Yeah.
like.
So we will move on to social graces. How do you go about convincing people to do what you need? This is going to be another skill. You could take haggler, manipulator, orator, or persuader.
So I have a question specifically here about the differences between manipulation skill and persuader skill.
I'll give you manipulator. Manipulator specifically uses lies, half-truths, ugly truth, soothing platitudes, seduction, and intimidation. Whereas persuasion, a persuader explains to their friends why it is in their best interest to act on their behalf.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm gonna go with persuader.
I took manipulator to give my manipulation a +1.
And
Okay.
these are also a rating 2 skill.
Yes. Unless you already have it, in which case you pump it up by 1.
I've picked Haggler.
And order, I guess, is just like speaking in crowds or something like that.
Yes. That is correct.
I'll go with that one. Why not?
Now, your specialty.
Wait, did Dennis? Which one did you pick?
I just got booted out. So if you pick one that it's not, so it's your unique specialty.
No, social
Right
grace,
now
one
we're on
right above
social grace.
Social graces.
Haggler, manipulator, orator, or persuader.
So what one's left? Manipulator.
No, we're gonna double up on at least 2 of these, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, so is anybody is anyone a manipulator?
Yeah. I took
I think
it,
the only
and I
one
already
that
had 2,
wasn't-
so I bumped my manipulation to 3.
Okay.
I don't think anyone took Haggler.
I have 3 in Haggler already, and Arcloid just took it as well, so I don't know what his number is.
Just 2.
So there's manipulator, order, and persuader.
And Haggler.
All right, I'll do persuader.
Okay.
Where does that go?
That's a skill.
Mm-hmm. And it's automatically 2, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And next will be your specialty. No 2 players have the same specialty. And the same as before, you will give it a rating of 2. If you already have it, it's a maximum of 4.
I mean, this is an easy one for me. I am the cartographer. I'll just take cartographer and up my cartography to 4. I don't think anyone's going to argue or fight me to get the cartography spot.
I would use cooking, but I already bumped cooking to 4 with the Crossroads hometown.
If you want to go back and change that to something else, feel free.
Does the specialty give you any kind of bonus beyond being the only person in the group who has it? Or is it just a way to boost your skills?
The way to boost it, you'll underline it when you choose it as your specialty.
which you really can't do on one of these PDFs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it
PDF,
has like a
I mean
mechanical
sheet.
effect. Yeah.
Not particularly.
Right, so I might just use my specialty to pick up something else that no one else wants. So yeah, what does everybody else want to do specialty-wise?
What are our choices?
There's a
You
list
have-
here.
I don't have the book, so.
Play the entire skill list.
Oh, the entire list?
The only thing I see that it comes up again later during some of the questions we asked during character creation. Other than that, it doesn't seem to have any mechanical effect.
Gotcha.
Oh, except that, yeah, there's a mentor thing also, and your mentor can train you in your specialty skill.
Okay.
So I can bump up something like, say, Scholar, then?
Yes.
Okay.
Scholar's not on the list.
I'll just give it that you can take any of the skills. It'll give more options to you.
Well, that's good.
Fighter!
Oh, that is a skill, then.
Yeah. I mean, do we have someone that's good at fighting?
I have 4.
So yeah, of course, you're the adventurer, I forgot. You know, it kind of, if you think about it kind of makes us all your hangers-on. You're the adventurer. We're just all here to support you.
You're all
Yeah.
sidekicks.
I signed a
Obviously.
contract.
I'll bump. You can take any skill as your specialty.
I'll let you take any skill for the specialty.
So long as somebody else hasn't taken it.
Correct.
I got
That
the
way you have
Scholar
more-
cornered, I guess.
Okay. And then we got the cartographer.
Right.
What else?
If no one else wants it, I'll take criminal.
Okay. And then I'll take fighter.
Okay.
I'll
Just-
take Dungeoneer. Does that add a
Alright.
rating to our skills?
That gives it an initial rating of 2. If you already have it, you raise it by 1 to a maximum of 4.
I am a professional Dungeoneer. Fear me.
Nice.
Don't eat that mold. It's bad mold.
But the mushrooms, however.
They are safe. Okay, so
Psychedelic.
if everybody has their specialty, we will do wises. Wises are basically areas of expertise. They're more specific areas. You can't be like anger wise or fight wise,
Role-playing game
undead
wise.
wise. Yeah.
GM wise, I know your tricks, Dan.
What you use wise for, it's actually should be noted on the character sheet, but if not, you can use right now worry about the one that you are able to use. The other ones you have to spend reward points on. But you can use I am wise to add +1 die to any test related to your wise. And that is made by you, a friend, an ally, or a creature. And you can do that in place of helping them.
I'm gonna take
Use-
trap wise.
Did you just make that up?
No, actually, it's an example. Specific thing wise, wise is gonna be about things. Book wise, ice storm wise, trap wise. I chose trap wise.
You can make things up. There is inappropriate ones that they have listed. Basically, if you do anything meta as your wise, it won't be allowed, or specific areas. Like you couldn't say undead wise or aberration wise, but you could say kobold wise, beholder wise. If you pick a race like that, you do know the language they speak.
Interesting.
And that's the only way you get their languages, by the way. It's using the
Yes.
wise.
So inappropriate wise isn't a wise.
That is correct.
But couldn't it be, though? I mean, if ugly truth is a wise...
I gotta
I'm
think
sorry.
now, because...
Yeah, this is one of the more esoteric ones.
Yes.
To be
Where's the
sure,
adventure taking place?
That's a good question.
The adventure, I will tell you, is taking place in a small town.
Small town wise.
It has to be a specific
Just that-
location.
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It'd
I'm
have
just
to be like this small town.
Well, I mean, you
Yeah.
could. You could literally
get
ask, what's the name of this town? That town-wise.
Yes, you could, but it could very well be the only time you're ever in that town.
correct.
I say I figure out that I'm like the bush beater, the path maker, so probably good if I have trap wise, so I don't stumble into traps.
Okay, this is gonna sound weird. Can I... And you're probably gonna hate me, but can I take, like, a luxury good wise of some kind or something like that? Like a specific good, I guess?
Yeah, specific goods like wines or liquor
Okay.
or artwork,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
clothing.
thinking of like a what do they call it in Lord of the Rings? Is it long bottom leaf wise? Like I've got a special nose for halfling pipe weed.
I would say that's just tobacco wise.
Are they just smoking tobacco? Okay. Well, yeah, we can go with that too.
You can name it whatever you want, but it's just
It should have a good
tobacco.
fantasy name, right? Yeah, I agree.
So
Aye.
this wise will be completely useless in combat. I'm just going to point that out right now.
Yeah, but it might
if I
come
take that
into
out.
play like in the loot or whatever.
Maybe. I mean, how many times are we going to find barrels of wine? Because I think I'm going to go with that.
I mean, it depends on how where we go, what we do.
So here's another question. Streetwise wise would be too generic, right? But maybe there's something that could be like, I don't know, would like fence wise, some sort of like criminal contact. Could
Well,
that
specific
work?
group is a wise you can have.
Okay,
Streetwise is just general knowledge of criminals, so criminal wise?
Specific group wise.
Well, one of the
It looks like
examples
would-
is bandit wise, so it would be just a criminal wise, right? For street wise.
barbarian wise.
Streetwise.
That's on there.
Or, you know, what the hell are we talking
Yeah.
about? Streetwise is literally already a word. You're just knowledgeable about the
I know,
street.
yeah, it's just knowledgeable about the street.
Streetwise.
But bandit wise may be closer to what I'm thinking here. It would be cool to have an inn with a certain kind of criminal underground or group, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm thinking weather-wise. Is that doable? Since I'm of a nomadic tribe, and
Yeah. You'll
I
put your
know.
finger in your mouth and see which way the wind's blowing.
Yeah, storms coming. We better seek shelter. Shit like
The
that.
leaves on the trees are curling up.
Yeah.
Yes, that's perfectly good to me.
All right. Sweet.
Well, as my character is a professional adventurer and he is so knowledgeable of dungeoneering, is there any kind of like dungeon-wise kind of thing going on there I can pick?
It has to be a
you could do-
specific location.
Yeah, or say trap-wise.
Well, I already got that. I don't think we want to double up on trap wise.
Yeah.
Also, throwing out there, no one's taking any wises that give them an extra language.
How many wises do we get?
One.
You may get one further in the game or character creation.
know what?
Okay.
Right
I'm a
on.
dwarf. I'm gonna pick some goblin-wise so I can speak to my enemies.
Okay.
Nice.
And you know about their culture and things like that as well. Now then, is that everyone?
So everybody just gets that one wise, and then that's it, right?
So
At the
Yes.
here's what
moment.
it says. Okay, so all right. Yeah, I'm a little confused by the wording, I guess. It says, under halfling, I'm looking, choose one of the following. Home-wise, two examples, and then take a second wise of your choice following the guidelines in this section. Either take one of our examples or invent your own. So that's different. So yeah, so it sounds like you get two.
Well, you might. Humans
for the
don't.
halfling,
Okay. I would make the argument that my pipeweed wise would be my halfling wise ability.
and then you would get another one.
Yeah, and I would take bandit wise for that one. Roger.
So like all like the races except humans get like an extra one or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Elves, dwarves, and halflings do anyway.
What are the choices for dwarves for Arcloid then?
Or
Dwarven
Extra
Chronicle
wises?
wise or Shrewd Appraisal wise.
thank you.
Where does it say I get extra wises? Because I don't have
Page
any.
15, third paragraph from the bottom, right side.
I don't have the book. I'm sorry.
Well, you asked me where. Dwarven Chronicle wise or Shrewd Appraisal wise is what's listed under the thing.
Dwarven Chronicle wise, that would kind of be like my, if this was Warhammer Fantasy, my Book of Grudges.
I'm sorry, say that again. If you were Warhammer,
If this were Warhammer Fantasy, that would be like my Book of Grudges.
I'm not familiar with Warhammer Fantasy, but I would say it's a chronicle of family histories, clan histories, things like that.
I'll pick that, I believe. What was the other one, though?
Shrewd appraisal wise.
No, we might need that. Shrewd Appraisal wise.
Yeah, you can back up with Robert's character for all the wine.
We'll get the most bodiest red wine you'll ever see.
Okay. We will be moving on to natures. Nature is basically what makes up your race's personality as well as yourself. It's going to give you descriptors. When you're making your checks for your skills, you can fall back on your nature. Let me see here. It should have it. I'll just read it to you right from. If you are, let me see, the dwarf, your descriptors are delving, crafting, and avenging. Sorry, avenging a grudge.
Do I get all of those or do I pick one?
You get all of those.
Yay.
All dwarves are always delving, crafting, and avenging a grudge.
This character sheet is a jungle gym.
You get used to it.
It's not that complicated.
It's not that it's complicated, but it is a little all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll figure it out when we're actually using these things.
I mean,
so far,
I've
it seems like we've got a lot of different like traits and wises and now natures, and they all seem to be giving some sort of abstract mechanical benefit to rolls. So, like, yeah, once we're rolling, it'll probably make more sense.
Yeah. I think the game description even says to be mastered over the course of maybe 4 sessions.
Yeah.
Oh, joy.
Not mastered, to be... what I'm saying, I can't remember. I read it last night
Basically,
while I was doing other things.
every test will come down to, I'm going to do this test. These people have related skills and can help me, so I get helpers there. I'm going to trigger a trait, either for an extra die or for a negative. And then you'll go through, am I wise? Do I want to use my wise? Do I want to fall back on my nature?
Yeah, it was good to remember that there are rewards for using your own traits against yourself.
Yes.
That is interesting.
Now, the halfling.
Yeah, I got mine. I am sneaking, or my natures are sneaking, writing, and merrymaking.
Riddling, not writing.
Oh, cool. Thank you for catching that. Riddling, that makes more sense.
Yes,
You're
I
good.
expect you to wear a little green suit too, by the way.
Riddle me this.
Yes. I want you to sneak up next to Arcaloid when he's trying to figure out a door puzzle or some shit. Oh, riddle me this, Arcaloid.
Yeah. Speak, friend, and enter.
Humans, your descriptors are boasting, demanding, and running.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's very human.
Oh, yes.
And the base rating of nature is 3. And there's things that are going to affect this with some questions I'm going to be asking. And we will start off with the dwarf, if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, first nature question for the dwarf. If your kin are slain and their halls plundered, would you spend your life plotting and exacting revenge, or would you tally your losses and move on to greater challenges?
Revenge.
Okay. If you would take revenge at any cost, increase your nature by 1. And the next question, would you plunge ever deeper into the bones of the earth looking for treasure untold? Or do you fear what you would uncover should you dig too deep?
What are doors for but to dig?
Okay. If you would dig ever deeper, increase your nature by 1 and decrease your fighter skill by 1.
Decrease.
Decrease fighter by 1.
So it goes from 4 to 3. I'm just making sure you're not saying increase and I'm not hearing it right.
No, that is decrease.
Okay.
The last question for the dwarf. Yes, that is correct. If it goes too high or too low, you are retired. Do you yearn to spend your days crafting wondrous objects from silver and gold?
Yes.
Or does the life of adventure call?
Ooh. Life of adventure.
If the life of adventure calls, you may replace or increase your home trait with fearless or foolhardy.
My home trait would be born of earth and stone.
Let's see. Yes,
And what can I replace that with? I'm sorry. I try to listen, but I have like a bad memory.
that's okay. So do I. What was the question again? See, right there. What was that question again? The
Well,
last part?
what can I replace born of earth and stone with?
Fearless or foolhardy?
Ooh. A fearless fiery dwarf. This sounds like something so fun to be.
Okay, point of order, I could be wrong about this. I feel like your home trait wasn't born of earth and stone. I think that's your dwarf trait. I feel like your home trait was the other one.
Oh, the fiery one.
Yeah.
You're
All right, I'll
correct
pick
on that.
fearless for into the fiery then.
Yeah, because Dwarven Halls is cunning and fiery. Or fiery. Cunning or fiery.
Yeah, that you got it right. I think. I mean, I'm saying that without the book in front of me, so take that what you
I'm
will.
literally scrolling back up and down the book every time someone says something, so.
But yes, that would be the Dwarven Hall's traits, cunning and fiery, that you would replace one if you want it. So, we can move on to the halfling nature questions.
Bring it on.
Do you eat second breakfast every day, even if supplies are running short? Or Do you tighten your belt and go a little hungry now so your supplies will last?
I will tighten my belt when times are tough.
Okay. If you do not eat second breakfast, you may replace or increase your home trait with skinny or stoic.
Now, I may, so it's optional. I could keep quick-witted instead.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna stick with quick-witted. That sounds like fun.
Okay. When confronted, do you stand your ground and fight, or do you run and hide?
More of a hider.
If you run and hide, increase your nature by 1 and decrease your starting fighter skill by 1. That's decrease the fighter.
Got it. Fighter is now 2. Nature is
Okay.
now 4.
Would you rather be safe at home in your warm bed than on this dreadful adventure?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
You
you
would
said
rather
yes. I was ready. Get out, Red. Why are you here?
Yes, it is quite dreadful. No, I like adventures. I rather like adventures.
Okay, if you rather like adventures, you may replace or increase your home trait with adventurous or calm.
Gotcha. I think I'm gonna stick with quick-witted though for my home
Okay.
trait.
Now then, the humans. First question. Do you sit by the hearth at night drinking and boasting of your great deeds? Or do you spend those chill nights quietly preparing for the dark times to come? If you
I'm
boast of
boasting.
your
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
I'm also
Well,
boasting.
I mean, I'm thinking to myself, I'm kind of a expensive-looking fella. I definitely going to have to boast about my exploits every once in a while. Yeah, I'll go with boasting too.
Okay.
We're all boasting at each other.
Yep. If you boast of your exploits, real or imagined, increase your nature by 1.
Okay.
The next question. When the elves and dwarves voice their concerns, do you demand to be heard as an equal, or do you bow your head and listen to the wisdom of your elders?
I listen.
Yeah, I would be listening as well.
Okay.
What
For the
was it?
ones
What
that,
was the question? Can you read the question again?
yes. When the elves and dwarves voice their concerns, do you demand to be heard as an equal, or do you bow your head and listen to the wisdom of your elders?
Yeah, I guess I'm listening.
Okay.
We're
If you
all the
listen to
same
the
kind of human.
Yeah, right? I'm sorry. If you listen to the wisdom of the elder ones, no rating change. Last question. Would you flee from the hordes of goblins, beasts, and monsters that prey on civilization, or will you plunge into their midst questing for treasure?
I'm already here questing for treasure, baby.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll plunge.
All right.
I kind of wanted to. Do I want to be different just for the sake of it? Nah, I would plunge into. Let's be honest.
Okay. If you do not fear those who prey on civilization, you may replace or increase your home traits with brave, foolhardy, or defender.
Taking brave, which replaces greedy.
I'm gonna stick with extravagant. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with quick-witted.
Okay. Now then, circles and relations. These are used in town. If you're going to find people, things of that nature. Circle rating. for everybody starts at 1.
Where is this on the Roll20 sheet?
Where it's abilities.
Oh, there it is. Got it. Right hand side.
Okay.
Right across from will, health, and nature.
Oh, okay. So circle starts at 3?
Starts at 1.
Okay.
1.
I do
And
not
I
see it.
am going to read some questions.
You saw where you put your health and your will at?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, I thought you see.
I didn't, but then I did. Yeah,
Got it.
got it.
Okay. So yeah, the circles start at 1. I'm going to read some questions. If you choose enemy, you cannot take a friend, parent, mentor, and an enemy. You can only have 3 of the 4. So the first question, do you have friends who enjoy your occasional visits, or are you a loner, tough and cool?
Well, I've never been called cool before, so I guess I have friends?
Okay. If you have a friend, +1 circles.
I'm a loner.
Okay. For anyone who takes a friend, you will also have to decide on a name and a profession for your friend. The profession is basically going to be a skill.
There we go.
Gotcha.
Friend, fighter. By the way, guys, my name is Roar, so if I name somebody weird, something weird like Rend, that's why.
And real quick, the profession has to be from your starting home.
Oh, so it has to be one of my
okay.
home skills.
Yes.
Hunter. Boom. Rend Hunter, then.
Now, if you are a
Let's go back up.
loner,
Yeah, I was going with loner.
your circles start at 1, and you have an enemy.
Oh, good.
How did your enemy destroy your life and set you on this path? Write down the name of your nemesis or mortal enemy on your sheet and skip the rest of the circles and relationship questions, and take the loner trait at level 1 or increase it by 1 if you already have it.
Oh, shit.
If you'd like to change it to having a friend, you may.
Also, don't forget that last sentence.
Also, you have to go get snacks for everybody. So I hope you got a plane ticket.
Oh.
That's what it says, man. We gotta listen to the rules of the game.
It actually
Yeah.
says that?
Also, go get snacks for the rest of the group while they finish answering the questions.
Got a full
So-
tank of gas?
It goes in traits. Is that right?
Loner trait, yeah.
The loner, yes, trade at level 1.
I think I might actually change this out, because I don't know if I really want to do that.
Sure, I'll try it. Why not?
See, the thing is that a human at this point of character creation could have loner at level 2.
Which would give you a different ability.
Well,
If
it would
your
allow you
trait
to
is-
keep using loner throughout the session instead of one time.
Actually, second level would be +1d twice per session.
Oh, is it twice? I thought it was the... Because I know...
Third is +1 success to each roll. So it would go from adding dice to actually adding successes.
Oh, because, yeah, on page 22 it says level 2 is to all rolls associated with the trait. Not
Hold on a second.
twice.
I was reading off the character sheet itself.
Oh, I'm in the main book.
Yeah, trait. What page did you say?
22.
22. Level 2 traits grant +1d to 2 rolls per session.
Huh. Why does mine say different?
Where are you reading it?
The main book.
Right at the top, trait levels. There are 3 levels for each trait.
Yeah.
Level 1 trait grants plus 1d to 1 roll per session. Level 2 trait grants 1d to 2 rolls per session. Level 3 trait grants plus 1 success to a tied or successful test.
That is weird.
Yours is different?
Yeah.
Huh.
Here, hold on.
Is it a different like edition or something?
I was about to
Shouldn't
check.
be.
No. I have the first edition, second printing, fall 2015.
Because that's what I'm looking at.
Huh.
That's weird. Well, I mean, you're the GM, so we're going with what your rulebook says. So.
Kind of strange. I'll have to post that on their Discord when we get done. Now back to where we were. Okay. Circles and relations. Second question. For the people who are not loners.
Did anybody go loner?
I did.
Yes.
Everybody else went friends?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I changed it because I'm too much of a weenie.
Yeah, I guess Dennis now is in break time.
Yeah, he was the one getting snacks for everybody. Do you have parents you can stomach talking to, or are you an orphan?
Oh, orphan. All orphans are criminals. That's just math.
Also orphan because all orphans are cool.
Okay.
Also math.
Even though I just described myself as not cool.
See, I was actually thinking going orphan too.
We are all the same person.
Right?
It's like
You know,
Disney heroines.
no, you know what? I'll go with parents then. Why not?
Okay. If you have parents, add +1 to your circles.
Alrighty.
You will note your family name or parents' names on your character sheet. And choose a trade for your parents from your hometown skill list. If you're an orphan, you have a keepsake from your parents that is worn around your neck or on one hand. Describe its sentimental value. It is worth 1d of treasure. Put it in your inventory.
My keepsake is a wolf tooth necklace. I got it from the wolf that I killed. That wolf that I killed was also the wolf that ate my parents.
I love it.
Well, it has to go along with my wolf shroud that I wear all the time as well, so it's probably the same wolf.
You earn that shroud.
I'd have to. It's literally part of my mechanic. I have to earn that shroud.
Okay, mine will be a mysterious key, and we don't know what it unlocks.
What's in that basement, Red? What
Right?
did your
I don't
dad
know.
put
We
in the
don't know.
basement?
Steamer trunk.
When I left home, I burned the house down. I just kept the key. No one will ever find it.
Good old Attack on Titan references.
Can the parents be the same profession, I guess, as the trait you took?
You mean it's a skill?
Yeah.
Yes.
Your parents have a skill?
Yes, it's a trade.
Has to be one
Which
from
would be
your
a skill.
hometown skill list.
Yeah, so like basically I'm picturing myself as kind of like coming into like a very long line of caretakers and stewards in a very rich palace. So I'm thinking mom and dad probably did that for a while or something.
Okay.
Oh, you were playing with fire, my friend.
So
I know.
on my classes and stocks PDF that I got from Discord there, it would be one of the skills under Dwarf Adventurer.
No, you're
looking for
Dwarven
something
Halls.
else.
One of the
No.
skills under Dwarven Halls. The
Yeah,
I don't have
armor,
that access.
laborer, or stonemason.
What was the one besides labor and stonemason?
Armorer.
Okay.
All right. Everybody ready?
I'm just saying you're playing with fire because the nobles are not your friends, and you are putting yourself awful close to them.
I
Yeah,
know.
right?
I know.
Okay. Did you have a mentor, or did you make your own way in this rough life?
Made my own way.
I have a mentor.
I mean, if I'm going to be Strider, I might as well be Strider all the way.
Okay, if you have a mentor, add +1 to your circles. Note your mentor's name on your character sheet. Your mentor's trade is the same as the specialty you choose for your character.
Perfect. Criminal master.
Note this next to his name like so. Roz the Cook. If you made your own way in life, you start with a pouch of cash worth 2D of treasure. It takes 1 space in your inventory.
It would make sense to have a mentor. So I gotta think of a name again.
Where would I list treasure?
What was that?
Where would I list treasure? Pouch?
You could put it in a pouch. I would say write it to the side, and we will go over that when we do equipment.
I'll just put it in the pouch for now, since I have nowhere reliable to write things on the side. If I open a notepad, I'll forget that I have a notepad open.
Okay, if we're ready to go on, that was mentor. Have you made an enemy in your life, or have your dubious deeds managed to escape notice?
I am beneath notice.
Okay.
Can I add an enemy still?
Yes.
I'm doing that, because why not?
Now, if you've made an enemy, you add +1 to your circles. Note your enemy's name on your character sheet. Choose a class in stock for your enemy, or let the GM decide.
I was pointing out to Griffin that this is my favorite either or choice, because the other side of this is the benefit for not having an enemy is not having an enemy.
That's pretty good. I think I'm going to go with that one, actually.
I don't mind having an enemy. It makes it fun.
I think it's a really cool mechanic, but I've got enough NPCs to juggle as is. I've got a mentor, I got a friend. That's real world me does not need that many people in his life, so we're good.
Honestly, the 5 of you are the most people I've spoken to at one time in months. Okay, so we are done with circles. Now we will move on to starting resources. In Roll20, I have a general equipment list. You bring that up. They do have some starting equipment in the book as well. Like I said, you don't have any starting cash. You can pick whatever you want from starting equipment.
Well,
you can fill everything up. And get down to equipment here. Inventory.
So we start with a backpack, you said?
You can start with a backpack. You can pick whatever equipment you want, as much as you can carry.
Also, I'm putting shoes on. I'm fucking wearing shoes.
I hope so.
It's gonna sound. All right. The list is on Roll20, right? Let me see.
Yes, in the handouts.
Well, I'm assuming, Robert, you're going to want a traveling spellbook.
I will likely have that.
Yes.
4 torches.
Like I had said in the Discord, you want to make sure you have water and rations, as well as light sources.
What does worn mean? Worn 1, worn 2?
That means you are wearing it. So go ahead.
Sorry, just looking at this sheet, and this is how I'm reading it. You tell me. It looks like we've got slots, right? So, for example, I'm picking a cloak. Cloak says it's worn 1, so I assume that a cloak will take one of my torso worn slots.
That is exactly it.
Gotcha.
Okay, I see it now. Question.
Yes.
Do we have to take the backpack?
No, you don't.
We can take like something smaller, like a satchel or a sack or whatever.
Yes, and you can actually take like a large sack and shove it into something else.
Like
And it will take up
layers
on
upon layers.
a large sack, a small stack. A large sack, and stick it inside of a backpack, and it takes up one spot.
Where did your, by the way, Red, where did your keepsake go?
I feel like it was said that it could be worn around the neck or kept in the hand, so I put it on my neck.
Okay, that's why I just put mine too. It occurs to me that's probably the worn for the neck slot, right?
I assume so, yeah.
So no wearing the garlic around my neck.
And you do have a spot for a weapon, a water skin, and a pouch.
Yeah, well, water skin makes sense.
Or wineskin, right?
Yes.
I'll take the wineskin.
Yeah, well, I know I'm taking a wineskin.
And you can also take other containers and put water or wine into those, like a bottle, I believe they have in equipment.
So spellbook pack 2, that means it takes up 2 slots in like the backpack or the satchel or whatever?
That is correct.
Ooh.
Right, like I have to wear a wolf shroud at all times on my torso, which takes up 1 slot. So my torso, it looks like worn backpack, worn wolf shroud.
Yes.
Right. And the satchel is only 1 slot on the torso.
That is correct.
All right, you know what? I will go with that. Why not?
I mean, so far I've got 4 torches, which is 1 slot, 3 slots dedicated to rations preserved, a tinderbox, and I still have 1 in a backpack.
I have the 3 preserved rations as well, but that's like all the room in my satchel.
I have the oddity though that I also need to eat money, so.
Really?
You can eat.
If I don't eat money when I leave town, I guess it's a superstitious sort of thing. I go afraid instantly, so I have to have. I gotta have a silver piece to eat.
What is a pouch? What does that refer to?
That is just a simple belt pouch.
And we could put
like a money bag or belt component.
So anything that says, I guess, belt or pouch or something like that would go in there?
Pouch 1, or simply something that takes up 1 space. That would obviously fit into a pouch.
So, all right, here's a question. Would, I guess, like, for example, like, would like a candle or something like that fit into a pouch?
Let me take a quick look here.
It says hand carried, which is fine, but I just want to see.
That's when it's lit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it says backpack / satchel, and this is pack 1, right? For 4.
Where are you looking at that?
Page 18 in the book.
Well, I have it on like the sheet here, Master Gear List. It's a light source.
It's starting equipment choices is I think different from. I don't know if it's different from the Master Gear, but starting equipment choices on page 18 if you have the book.
Yeah, it's hand carried 1 or pack 1. So that means you could put it into a backpack or a sack.
Okay.
It would not go into a
pouch. Okay.
And then what? We have to go into our character and pull what we're wearing and.
Oh, I thought you caught up. I thought you were with us. Sorry, Dennis.
Yeah, I'm just a little behind because I'm looking at 2 different things. I was looking at the Master Gear List, and then I was also looking at the starting equipment choices. So And you guys are filling a backpack, so how much can you put in the backpack?
It's on the
backpack
sheet.
hold-
Each on the sheet, if you look down in the equipment area, every slot is one thing, or one slot. I don't know how to explain it.
Right. Well, I see the inventory slots.
Yeah,
But
right.
how
When
many
you see where it says like pack 2, like for rope, that would be 2 slots.
Yeah, and
You would
the
write rope
difference,
twice.
the difference between a backpack and a satchel looks like the satchels have 3 slots and the backpacks have 6 slots.
That
That's what I was about to say.
I don't see
If
that.
you-
Where is that?
So I don't see it in the inventory list, but if you look on the sheet where it says backpack/satchel and you look at each of the slots, the first 3 say backpack/satchel in them, and then the last 3 say backpack only. So I'm just assuming that satchels only have 3 slots and backpacks have 6.
Where
from that.
are you seeing that though? I can't find that.
On the character sheet under the inventory section, under the illustration of the angry dwarf.
Underneath skills.
Oh, okay. I was not looking here. All right.
So I
Got
have a question.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Are
Okay,
you
thanks.
allowing anything off of the master equipment list and not the starting equipment choices?
Let me see here.
Because I was just looking at the starting equipment choices, and I didn't realize that the thing that you showed everybody else was the master list of all equipment.
Yeah, I put that one in there so I wouldn't have to. The master gear list is just a general cheat sheet.
Right. That's what I'm asking. Are you allowing the choices to be made off of that and not the starting equipment choices?
No, starting equipment. I'm just kind of going back and forth, double checking as going through
Because
stuff.
my question there is, because like what, Robert doesn't have the book, right?
That is correct.
Right. So Robert doesn't know what the starting equipment is, right?
That's what I was getting
Nope.
ready to go over.
Okay. Sorry.
All right.
I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't gimping myself by only going with the starting equipment if you were allowing the master list.
No. I honestly think they are about the same though, except for like weapons. But
Well, like armor is not on there. Also.
armor you get is your starting
Right. No, I just
armor
mean
and
it's on
weapon.
the master list. It's not on the starting. Differences.
But the regular items are all the same, I believe. I think I checked it.
How much do we get? Do we get it all?
Oh, whatever you want.
As much as you can fit into your slots.
Got it.
That's the problem I'm
No
finding is I
cost.
can't find any more slot room.
You can't what?
I can't find any more slot room.
For the backpack.
No, I
Yes.
got one slot left in my backpack, and I don't know what I want to hold in my hands.
And you also have the large sack, the small sacks, like all that? I mean, on the character sheet, like...
It's if you have it. Like, if you go on your torso, you see a backpack takes torso worn 2. If you want a backpack, you have to put 2 on your torso
And
slot.
Got it.
also take into account when you are doing your equipment, when you go into, say, a dungeon and you find a sack of gold and you pick that up, that's taking up a spot in your equipment. So if you have a small sack in your backpack and you pull that out and toss 2 treasure items with it, you're now carrying that small sack in one of your hands.
Got it.
And if you have a light source, that's in your other hand. So if you
Okay.
then get into, say, a conflict, a fight or something, you then have to put something down.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to carry a large sack in my hands.
What does spell supplies mean?
Spell supplies is just a general thing. You will use it. Think of it as general purpose spell components. It'll give you an extra die to your casting roll.
Okay. I'll
I
put
just
that
wanna-
in. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say something completely unnecessary. You go.
No, well, I was actually going to ask, like, what was the starting stuff that we get automatically, I guess, at this point, just so I have it marked in here.
your starting stuff, all the general equipment, rations, your sack, stuff like that is the same as the equipment sheet. I'm going to give you starting weapons and armor. The cleric. You can choose from either a flail, a mace, a sling, or a warhammer.
Okay. I have to go with the hammer because it's like the hammer of the world ash, some sacred spirit smith warhammer.
Okay. That will
That's like
actually replace your starting weapon.
okay.
And that acts like a regular warhammer.
Yeah.
Okay.
It fulfills the
takes
holy symbol requirement and replaces. Let's see. It's balanced for smithing, hammering, punching, and forging, and grants plus 1d to armor tests.
Okay.
It's in. I think it's in that little supplement I sent
Yes,
you.
it is.
Yeah.
That is in your hand or carried to. So basically, if you were to put that on your belt,
Mm-hmm.
you would either have to give up your pouch or your skin.
What's the skin? Like a water skin
Water
or wine
skin,
skin or
yeah.
something? Yeah. Okay. All right. What's hands carried? So that's I can't wear it. I guess I can't wear it on my hands, huh?
That means you carry it in a hand,
Okay.
or it can be carried in two spaces, simply because it's bigger and bulkier.
On my belt or on my torso?
1 second here. Warhammer. It simply says hand carried too, so I'm sorry, you wouldn't be able to carry it on your belt. You'd have to have it in like a satchel or a backpack or something like that.
Yeah, so it just takes 2 spots on my hands then.
One spot on your hand.
Okay.
2 spots if you're putting it somewhere.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. And you can choose either a shield. Oh, I'm sorry. You have the option to choose a shield as an additional second weapon. And the shield is hand or carried 1. So basically, you could take the shield and say, I'm going to put it on my torso.
Okay. And then it's worn on the torso?
It can be worn on the torso in one spot or carried in one hand.
What's the difference with the hands with carried and worn? I'm not understanding that.
Worn simply means you're putting it somewhere. It's going into a backpack. It's going into a satchel. Hand means that you're carrying it in your hand.
Okay. But there's
So
worn under hands. It's like hands, and then there's worn
I
and
don't
carried.
think there's any starting equipment you can wear on your hands.
Okay.
I looked.
It's simply worn means that you're putting it somewhere.
Got it.
It's either in your hand or it's in a.
Well, like one of the choices of keepsakes you would wear on your hand, but we don't have that.
Mm-hmm. So can I use the hammer and the shield at the same time, or?
Yes. One in each hand. One hand would have the hammer, the other would have the shield.
Okay. All right. All right.
And you were saying about the keepsake on the hand?
Yeah, I was saying about that. I wasn't asking anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would just be
I
worn.
posted my loadout in Discord just in case anybody had any questions. I mean, I took a picture of it and I posted it. Because I think I'm basically done, because I can't think of anything else I could pack in there. There's no starting equipment you can wear on your head, no starting equipment you can wear on your hands. I'm already wearing shoes. I
What about a
filled my
helmet?
backpack.
You can wear a helmet.
Don't get that in starting equipment.
But where is starting equipment listed then? Because I just picked off of the list on Roll20.
The only starting equipment that is different from the regular equipment choices is your weapons and armor, which I'm going over now. So I just did the cleric. The next one is the magician.
I just get a dagger, so.
The warrior. Do we have a warrior in the group? No, we don't. The halfling. You start with one weapon of your choice that is not a crossbow, two-handed sword, halberd, polearm, or lance. Basically any one-handed weapon. And just mark that down on your sheet. The dwarf. The dwarf, you start with one weapon of your choice, except for the bow, two-handed sword, or the lance. You can't use those.
I have also picked the Warhammer.
Okay. And then we have the Wolfkin.
Oh, I already got mine.
Okay.
So my clan choice determines my my weapon, which means I get a spear, and my armor is the wolf's shroud that I have to wear all the time.
Okay.
Also, just as an aid, here I'm gonna drop this in Discord. There you go. There's your starting equipment list.
Thank you. You're much better at multitasking than I am.
Actually, I'm not multitasking. I was already done, so I figured we had people that were confused, and I can do this one thing.
Now, the dwarf. Did you take the shield?
Yes.
Okay. Because if you did not take a shield, you could take a helmet.
I could take only one or the other?
Yes, that is correct.
Oh, you're holding your spell supplies.
The dwarf, halfling, and cleric all begin with leather armor. I've already given the magician spells.
Yes, I should be good, and I have them written in, so.
You still have a slot left in your backpack, Robert.
I know, it's purposely open. Do you want me to fill it?
Oh, no, I'm just pointing it out. Well, I mean, you could put your spell supplies in there, couldn't you?
I could put more spell supplies in there, yes.
Well, I mean, literally, you're just walking around with spell supplies in your hands.
No, it's worn, it said, so I guess I have it, like, in a pouch or something.
Well, hand worn, neck worn, or pack one per spell.
Yeah, so like I can, probably have like a. The way I'm like picturing it, maybe he has like a little pouch that's tied around his wrist that he can pick out stuff from.
Right, worn.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just imagining you just like juggling around spell supplies in your hand.
I mean, I don't mind doing that too.
I didn't read the worn part. That's what threw me.
The spell supplies have to be somewhere in the inventory. They're either in your hand or they are in a backpack.
No, he's listed them. He posted a picture of his inventory too in the Discord.
All right. The cleric gets as a prayer the fury of the lords of life and death. That's basically your turn undead.
Yeah, I don't think I get that at level 1 because I have the smithing, the blacksmith.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't get prayers until level 2, I think.
Right.
And for that spirit smith guy.
Right then. Now, everybody's got your equipment. We're all finished there. We can move on to alignment. There's only 3 alignments in Torchbearer: Law, Chaos, and Unaffiliated.
Due to my affiliation with my own clan, I have to be Chaos. The Moon Clan is Chaos. Which represents the forces of freedom, entropy, and savagery.
I have to be the opposite of that, so I'm going Law this time, I think.
You can always be unaffiliated.
I could.
Yeah, that's what
I could. Yeah. I'm looking at like from character wise though. Like, I guess we got like I'm the rich kid because I'm the wizard.
Unaffiliated is for those who think having shelter, food, and family is more important than the ideals and ideologies.
You just want to get through your day.
Yeah.
Progress, order, and civilization.
For somebody who's so extravagant and worked as a steward though, and has like a mentor and things like that, I'm thinking Law for me. Sorry, guys.
I feel like it behooves me to point out, so I just have to say, that we are not the nobles.
I'm well aware.
You might feel like you're extravagant, but you are well into being a nobody.
I am well aware.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Or extravagant.
You can still believe in progress and civilization and order.
Yeah, law. That's
and
law.
be a nobody.
Yeah, eventually I'll be back on time.
I'm sorry, no, my interjection wasn't about alignment. It was about the entire basis of what Torchbearer is.
Oh yeah, I'm on board with that.
But
I think I'm more important than I am. How's that sound?
Yeah, no, I assumed that's what we were going with here, but I just felt like I really had to throw something in.
Yeah.
You could say that you're a noble, but you're a noble who's like a 4th or 5th born. Your parents spent all the money, and the only thing you have now is your title, which is almost worthless.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Which makes you a real asshole.
I guess I'm the asshole for the campaign. I'm sorry, everybody.
Nice.
You're that guy.
I normally don't play that guy either.
Nice switch.
To be fair,
Okay,
I'm always saying I don't want to be that guy, but...
Is anybody else going Law, or am I the only one?
I'll go Law. I'm a dwarf. Tradition is important to us.
So what's unaffiliated again? I'm sorry.
If you care more about food and family and home.
Oh yeah, I'm going Chaos then.
Chaos for me too. I think as a burglar, it's kind of my milieu.
Okay. So we are going to move on to beliefs, instincts, and goals. The first one is your belief. This is your general philosophy on life. I'll give you a couple of examples. I am the leader of this group of adventurers. Another one is, there's naught for me but blood and treasure. So if you want to take a few minutes, think up what you want to have as your beliefs.
So I'm assuming like it's kind of like a role play type of thing, right? Like it's like what guides us as a belief.
Yes, and as a mechanical benefit, your beliefs, if you play to them during the game, will earn you a fate point, which you basically spend it like a meta currency to bump rolls. You can spend 1 point to re-roll all your 6s as new dice. You also use them to generate some effects from your wises.
Let me pitch this one out then. The whole world is wrong but me.
I was actually thinking to do that for myself.
I'll be fair, it's the only thing I knew about my character. This morning I woke up and I'm like, everything's wrong but me. Perfect.
I was thinking about doing that for myself. It just seemed right. I mean, if
That's
you want to
fine.
go for it, though, go for it.
You can share beliefs too. That isn't an issue.
Yeah, that's what you call a movement.
No, I could.
I don't think
tailor
that's literally a belief we can't share. We both can have it, but we can't share. Everyone's wrong but me. We both feel this way.
Yeah.
Playing.
Unless you're going to say everyone's wrong but Roar.
No. See, I was thinking along the lines of I know best, like that kind of thing. Like, because I'm the smartest person in the room at all times.
Sure, we both have the same belief. You've written it 3 words, and I've written it in a paragraph. I've done that thing where if you make a Spider-Man movie, Uncle Ben has to say, with great power comes great responsibility, and in the next movie, somebody has to say it again, but they can't say it the same way, so they have to say it with a lot more words.
What?
Not a Spider-Man fan, Robert.
No, I don't mind Spider-Man. I just don't understand the metaphor.
It's not a metaphor. I was literally describing what happens. It's happened 4 times now.
But, yeah, you could just tell me when beliefs are done. You just want to read out what they are.
Mine is pretty simple. Clan first.
Now, that may not be an easier belief because you may not always be able to play to that during the game. If you're not around your clan,
True.
I've modified mine. Gonna borrow some lyrics from the Rolling Stones. I'm a man of wealth and taste.
Oh, that's funny, because I
Good.
borrowed mine from Wigwam, actually.
It feels like cheating because I'm just ripping it from the book, but I do think I like it could always be worse, so keep your head down and your spirits up.
Okay.
Aw, that's actually kind of cute.
Yeah, the halfling needs to be the heart of things, probably, and someone needs to be upbeat and cheerful. Plus, I imagine she's seen the downside of life, being an orphan burglar, so maybe she's like, hey, it could be worse. At least we're not eating mud soup.
Are you knocking my mud soup?
Hmm.
Look, we're really making those rations last by adding the mud.
It's a thickening
Hey.
agent.
Ain't nothing wrong with mud pie.
Just a little bit of salt. It's fine. It's
Stop wasting
adequate.
the salt.
Just a pinch.
Save that for the potatoes.
You know how expensive salt is?
As expensive as potatoes, apparently.
Now potatoes literally grow in the ground.
What they used to pay legionnaires in. Are you worth
Yeah, I
your
don't-
salt?
What
Or
do you got,
other
Dennis?
tradable goods.
I don't know.
No.
Maybe that's your belief. I don't know.
What's going on here?
That's not a good belief.
Actually,
It literally is. I believe it was not Aristotle that once said,
Killing is the way.
middling is the way. I like that. Tell my wife hello.
How's never settle for good enough?
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, there's always a way.
yeah, I do
Someone
like the
who never
Mandalorian.
gives up.
Yeah, the man.
Okay,
This
so
is the
that's
way.
everybody?
Yep.
Okay,
Sounds like
so
something a religious guy would say.
We now move on to instinct. Instincts are kind of important. It's something that you innately do so much, and it is such an important thing to you that it's muscle memory. You don't even think about it when you do it. What it translates to is if you trigger your instinct, say, I always search for traps in a new area. When you walk into a new area, you can search for traps, make a test, and it doesn't burn up a turn. If you say something like, I always cook a good meal at camp, you don't have to have a check to make one cook roll during camp. Think of it as
I got another one to
triggering
pitch
a
at you.
freebie. Okay.
I always try not to die.
I think that's everybody's instinct, to be fair.
Well, I honestly not sure how that would trigger because you'd have to be in a situation where you're actually about to die.
Right. I'm going to try not to.
But you wouldn't be triggering it unless you were in that death-defying situation. If you're hanging from a cliff ledge, then it would come in. But if you're just going through a dangerous area,
all right, let me retext this with more words. I always try to avoid a scenario in which I might die.
Okay.
You're gonna let that go? You're gonna go with
actually,
that? Oh no.
Look, I'm just reading the trigger and effect, right? So all I'm trying to do is manipulate the effect. Look, I'm looking into my computer programming skills and
I see that.
seeing which best robot skill I can add in here.
Can this instinct, by the way, be negative?
You could be negative, but you might get a negative thing happen to you. But the important thing for your instinct is that it's a statement that's kind of an always do this, never do that, or if that happens, do this.
I always do the right thing.
Yeah, that would be a little too broad.
Okay, so I always rise to the occasion wouldn't be a good one.
Yeah, it can't be something that your characters are just automatically doing.
Well, I don't know. Always rising to the occasion is literally like being baited into a fight, isn't it?
Well, whatever.
That's what I'm saying. It has a negative and a plus.
But it's not triggering. The important thing for the instincts that it's something that you're going to trigger almost every game that you're getting for free.
Right. This is going to be the most difficult one because it's literally now that I'm thinking about it, it's like a wish spell.
Kind of, yes.
How to best phrase this wish spell to always be the best thing.
Right.
It has to be more precise. Like you're always trying to do the best thing. That's more a belief than an instinct. An instinct would be, I always try and keep a torch lit. And if something happens and the torch goes out, you can automatically relight that torch.
Okay, how about
that's
this?
so hard.
How about this? I always try to be aware of my surroundings.
I would say yes.
I think the problem here is I have no real concept of the systems at work, so I don't know what's an actionable thing, because I think I might be thinking in terms of reaction and not action.
I would say look at your skills. Like if you could say, I'm always trying to scout out a new area.
I got one for me then.
Well, say it.
I always will try to learn new tricks.
That might be too broad as well.
Too broad? Okay. I will always try to. Would study magic be broad, or do I need like a specific kind of magic?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how that could work.
I feel like this one is one they should have given us a lot more examples of.
Yeah, honestly, think of it as freebies for skill checks, like the one you just said for learning spells. If you just said, I always put my effort into learning new spells, when you roll to learn a new spell, or say transcribe it to a scroll, that's when it would trigger and you wouldn't burn up a turn doing it.
I think that's what I will go with then, if that's okay. Just the way you worded it.
One of the big things is that it doesn't trigger a turn. Turns are big in this game. Don't think of them as one person's independent action. It is a group thing that takes a set amount of time. And after 4 turns go by, you get a condition.
Okay. I'm going to lean on the last one, instinct. If that happens, do this.
Yes.
If things seem deadly, I run.
That's perfect.
Okay, there we go.
That means that if you encounter, say, a monster, before anything happens, for free, you automatically get the roll to run away.
Okay, wait. Not just any monster, right? Like, I have to perceive that things are going to be deadly, not that they
You
actually...
think that a bomb's about to explode, you get a free chance to run from it.
Okay, yeah, that's more what I was going for, rather than be a coward anytime anything happens, I run.
But yes, anytime you see some kind of danger, you get a free choice on if you're going to run from it.
Okay. Along those lines and in that spirit, I'm thinking, and I don't know exactly how to word this, but something like always take advantage of an unguarded purse, kind of to go along with the thievery thing. So like if there was an instance where someone, there was an easy mark and they were unaware of me, I could take a free move to pickpocket or something. Would that make sense?
And say that you could make it a little more broad and go
Okay.
with, I always try and snatch unguarded items. Whether
Cool.
it's a set of keys on a table.
Yeah, or like treasure and the dragon's looking the other way or something.
Yes, it is. Hungry and thirsty. And
Right.
if you're hungry and thirsty and you hit the grind every 4th turn, you would then become angry, which means you need a Snickers.
Yeah, so that was the other thing I was thinking about, was the example you gave of getting free cooking, something like never work on an empty stomach or something like that. If you guys think that that would be more useful to the group, I'm game to do that as well, or instead.
Make it specifically about camp. Eating
Okay.
and drinking is a completely free action, and it does away with the hungry and thirsty condition. So if you
Oh.
make it during camp, then you can make the check to cook food without. I'm sorry. You can make the test to cook without burning one of your checks.
Got it. So sounds like what you're saying is I could do the cooking and also help with some other check, something else that we would want to be doing.
Yes.
If that's the type of person that you would be, right? I mean, you have some criminal elements, right?
Yeah, I've got both, right? I've got 4 in criminal and I got 4 in cook, and I've been leaning on the cooks. Well, I'm kind of split down the middle. I like both. I think that criminal might, or the stealing things might be more personally fun, but I feel like the cook would be more useful in general to us, to our overall survivability.
It really sounds like when I camp, I'm either filling bellies or my own pockets.
Yeah.
But when death is
Ooh,
imminent,
that's good.
the wolf guy is gonna run.
I'm a survivor.
Right. So
Well, he has
Yeah.
the choice of running.
he has a choice of running. Yeah.
I'll be honest,
If he
I completely
does-
forgot what I had said before, so I just wrote down, if I think a situation is deadly, I run.
Mm-hmm.
And
'Cause
if
I
you
think
play
that's
to your instinct and use it and it helps the group, then you get a fate point as well.
It really feels like the lawyer argument
Mm.
later. Well, everyone else died, and I'm alive, so clearly running helped the group, i.e. me.
Well, you would actually, if you triggered and you're running away, enabled you to come back and rescue everybody or
Right.
come
Right.
back with a piece of equipment.
Oh, the Forrest Gump maneuver, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
did everybody get their instincts?
Not yet. I was thinking of something along the lines. I'm always first in line to fight the enemies of dwarven kind.
I don't think that would actually give you some kind of free roll.
What about when danger is present, I fight?
That would work. But again, that wouldn't trigger a free roll.
Not a fighter roll? That wouldn't trigger a fighter roll?
Now see, the fighter roll would happen in conflict. But you could use the fighter roll.
This is hard.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, it's probably easier once we start doing it.
Yeah.
Yes. But
Well, I got one
I
along
would
those lines. Or go ahead.
you could say I always try to get the first attack against enemies of dwarves, and
Okay.
that would let you make a fighter roll before conflict. Like if you're waiting to snipe somebody, or you're waiting right around the corner with your hammer up, and as soon as that goblin comes around, you bink him on the head with the hammer while he's still surprised. That would
The wording I gave for that would still work for what you just said, because like I'm first in line to always fight dwarven kind sounds less gamery than I always get the first hit.
okay.
Well, which one do you
Also-
want? Because that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, like, in the face of danger, I'm always the first to react. That's along the same lines, right? As attacking first. Is that good?
Yeah, I
Can I
think
use
so.
that?
Yeah, and the one on the enemies of the dwarves. I think that we wanted the same thing. We were just taking different roads to get there.
That's what it seems like, yes.
So however you worded it was good.
Thank you.
Okay. So now we are on to. I'll give a quick note about goals. Goals are things that you're trying to accomplish in the immediate adventure. We don't have the adventure running just yet, so you're going to leave that blank for the moment. Let me see here. Characters need names, if you haven't given them names yet.
Roar. Which, by the way, is also a Nordic name, so double suited me.
Nice. Okay.
I like it.
Eric.
I went with
Well,
Everybody's got names.
will you show up in the character list, or no? That's not going to be there
Who, me?
in Roll20.
The DM?
No. The characters, or like Roar. I don't see him on my character list in Roll20.
No, actually, you only see your own sheet.
I'll just see my own sheet. Okay, because
Yeah.
in prior games that we played, you see everybody.
Well, if you look at the map, like, my token is out there, so what was his name, Seth?
Yeah, I went with Seth.
Yeah, so if you, like, have a token or something,
Aha, yeah, I got to do that.
that can be represented there.
Yeah. I could.
I get it.
Got it. There's the dwarf. Okay, so it's just me. That's
Well, no, Brett also needs one.
Yeah, I gotta
Okay.
figure. I gotta grab some art, I guess.
Are you doing a male or female halfling?
I think I'm going to do a female halfling. I've never played a halfling before, but I like the idea of like a sassy halfling thief lass. So I'll quickly do a little internet search.
Okay. And while that is going on, everybody else can pick a raiment, which is a distinct item of clothing that you wear.
I have no options. Wolf Shroud.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Egyptian theme on mine, so I'm wearing what the hell is it called? The headdress. I think it's called a nemes. Or
Okay.
nemes.
It's gonna look real weird.
I literally, I thought, what kind of wizard do I want to make? And then I was like, you know what? Out of nowhere, I saw, an old, poster of Gauntlet Legends. And I saw the yellow wizard they used for that. And I was like, yeah, let's just make him.
Nice.
Again, I just want to say, because it always sounds like I'm shitting on people, and I'm not.
I know.
Honestly, not. It's just that it seemed always, when I was reading it, Torchbearer has a very Nordic theme to it, so that's why.
Yeah.
So you say Egyptian theme, and I thought, is that his character token?
I mean,
You do you, man. Maybe you're just weird.
That's why he's an orphan. He was from another land.
Yeah,
well, I'm not an orphan. But I am from another land. Let's go with that.
Maybe he's just weird. I'm not going to judge. Well, I am going to judge, but I'm not going to judge out of character.
I'm going to wear a red sash.
That is a sassy-looking halfling.
Right.
Sassy.
I think I lucked out first 3 Google image pics, so we'll go with that.
If you want to get a starting age for your characters, dwarves are anywhere between 30 and 51 years old. Elves, no elves. Halflings, 26 to 31. Humans, 14 to 21.
20.
They have to be in that starting age?
Yes.
All right. All right, I'll go 21 then.
Could raiment be a what I was thinking of was, as my character was an armorer, he would have his grandfather's armoring hammer.
Okay.
Or toolkit, whatever.
I now want to imagine that you're wearing it Flavor Flav style around your neck. That's as a piece of clothing, right? How do we make pieces of things that aren't clothing into clothing? Flavor Flav has laid out the path for us.
Yeah, I would even say that could be carried on a belt as long as it is taking up an inventory spot and is plainly visible to everybody. Oh, there's that dwarf with the hammer.
Said nobody ever.
All right,
There's that dwarf with a beard.
Take it out of my backpack and put it in my belt instead of the pouch.
Good kitty.
Huh?
I just threw a circular token for my character in the Discord.
What's her name?
Maxima, but she will also respond to Max.
Don't forget to add it to your sheet.
Can I do that? Do I have privileges?
Yeah,
to
well,
do that?
you don't have to have privileges. You can just hit edit on the bio section.
Right. Gotcha. I'm used to being a GM in Roll20. I don't have a lot of player experience. Apologies.
It's all right. We can change that if you like.
20 as well. I usually use Tabletop Simulator.
Here we go. Actually, we'll use the full picture. Why not?
That's right. When I made this game, there's all these new options now that looks like Roll20 is updated. Literally, I had to go into help for them because I have a game that I made back when they were brand new, and they're like, "How old is this game? No wonder it has so many problems." Well, it's like every individual game doesn't update. So when you make new games on Roll20, all the new fixes and everything get made with it. So my old one is full of old options and shit. And it's like, well, it's like every new game also has a new number. What do we got here? Well, I can't see from here. About to type the wrong thing in.
Okay. Couple of things that I want to go over before we get started. Real quick, casting spells. You simply make a Arcanist check, and you'll have factors in your spell description that'll tell you what your final obstacle is.
Okay.
I believe, like the one for your vision, the supernatural vision, the
Yeah.
factor is how long you want it to last. A turn, a phase.
And I assume we're going to go over this just as we play, but we're going to find out what turns mean, phase means, and all that stuff, right?
We're actually about to go over that.
Okay.
So turns, if you go to the handouts and bring up the sheet that says grind, what you're going to see up at the top is turns. Anytime somebody does something that requires a test, it's a turn. If you go into a new area and you scout and people help you, that's a turn. Like I said, don't think of it as one person doing one action. You'll have the one person scouting, and you could have 2 to 3 people helping if they have the scout skill or something that they can narratively justify using.
Okay.
Every 4 turns, you feel the grind. The grind, you mark off one of your conditions. You start off hungry and thirsty. Hungry and thirsty is the easiest one to get rid of. All you have to do is eat and drink. Well, eat or drink. Doesn't take a turn, doesn't do anything. So if you can stay on top of your hungry and thirsty, the grind isn't going to bother you. But
Okay.
if you start getting other conditions as a result of failed checks, conflict, things like that, then it can start to pile up on you. And conditions are removed during camp in town. You'll just do something to relieve it. Like exhausted, you're just resting for the night.
Camp in town, is that like those are other phases, obviously. That's something that we have to consciously do, or is that like baked in?
It is a little bit of both. While you're playing the game, the person mapping will kind of keep track. This looks like a good place to camp. There's a holy shrine to a lawful god, so we think this could protect us over the course of the night. And let's see. Then you would decide to camp. You'd make the decision, we're going to camp. Just like in other games, when conditions start piling up, you need to rememorize your spells, is when you would go to camp. Once you're in camp, unless you make some horrible roll to do a test, nothing bad will happen. You can make checks to repair equipment, cook food, rest, things of that nature. Town is mostly where you re-equip, get leads, and more than likely you won't even get to a town phase until we're done doing this adventure.
Okay.
And also, for your light sources, at the table on roll 20, on the left side of the table are 3 cards. One for torch, one for lantern, one for candle. Each light source gives a different amount of light. The torch is the first one. It gives full illumination to 2 people. the person holding it, and the buddy next to him. It gives dim light to 2 other people. So the person next to you have full light. The next 2 people in line have dim light. And a torch lasts for 2 turns. So you can start to see how light sources can be important here. The lantern is good for 3 people full light, 3 people dim, and lasts for 3 turns. The candle is full light for 1, dim light for 1, and it lasts for 4 turns. If you're in dim light and you're doing anything, except for riddling, it makes it a tougher test. The obstacle goes up 1, or there is a -1 on a versus test to successes. If you're in complete darkness, you get the same penalty, except the only thing you can do is pretty much riddle somebody and flee.
So I have a question.
Yes.
It's about my wolf shroud in regards to light. A wolf shroud provides night vision and allows a wolfkin to ignore the effects of dim light for 1 turn per level.
Okay.
Well,
if you're in,
I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, so my question would be 1, parsing, and 2, time increment. Night vision and allows a wolfkin to ignore dim light. So I'm assuming not one part of sentence, the second part of sentence.
Yes, I think the first part would be like a narrative description, or I would assume it's because night vision, it's outside. But I think the actual mechanical effect would be negating the dim light for the 1 turn.
All right, 1 turn per level. Per
Yes.
what?
Per session, I would presume.
Well, that sucks. All right. It
Actually,
doesn't.
I will
It has no. It has no description. 1 turn per level, forever.
Actually, I will change that to once per adventure phase. How's that sound?
I mean, it sounds good, but again, I don't know until we actually hit the game. So.
Okay. Well, right now we'll leave it at that, and if we think that it's nerfed too much, we'll go ahead and say it's all the time.
I'm
But it
going
just
to
seems
fully
like
admit to you that I just picked this class only because I think it's awesome to have a character who's wearing a wolf skin over their head.
what's also funny is you're the only stock or class in the game so far that has any kind of night vision or something like that.
I mean, the game is called Torchbearer, right? Obviously, managing darkness is got to be a core part of the experience. So I could see why that wouldn't be a. I mean, especially compared to like a 5th edition thing where literally everyone and their grandma has night vision.
Well, I
Yes.
mean, I also didn't check y'all's inventories because opening up the images covers your cameras. So, I mean, I brought torches as well.
I brought a lantern because I got limited space, but a lantern is 1 when carried, so I figured that's something.
So lantern use fuel?
Yeah, I was about to say, make sure you have a flask of oil as well.
Right. I grabbed a tinder box, but I will probably swap that out. Let me swap that out. I got another question.
Yes.
Because I can see in our table set up here that there's these light cards, but I cannot read anything on them. I don't know if they're supposed to open up or something.
They're meant to be dark. It's an aesthetic effect. I'm not too keen on it myself. But
it's not just that. I mean, I can't read any of the text that's on these
there should be
cards.
a way you're supposed to be able to click and make things look bigger. I can't remember what the key is.
Actually, if you take the card, I'll tell you what.
Like a zoom effect. I can't remember.
You take the card and
Z.
pick it up into your hand. Sorry, it's not a card, so you can't do that.
Yeah, I can't actually interact with it at all.
But yeah, no matter what you do, you're not
Did
going
that
to be
do it?
able to read that card properly.
Did it work for you guys?
No, still
Nah.
can't interact.
Click on the token and hit Z.
The problem is that I can't actually select the token.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
thought it was. Hold on. What? Hold on. That's on the token layer. Oh, that's right. I forgot. Sometimes I'm sitting on my privilege.
You and your privilege.
Trying to see. There should be a way that I can do this for you. Because I know there's a way you're supposed to be able to pop it out for everybody. And I just did it for myself, but you're saying it didn't work for you.
I'm actually looking up the actual ruling for the light source. I can get back to that section.
Wait, maybe it's this.
There we go.
That do anything?
That
Oh yeah, it just popped up. Okay.
I'm trying
Yeah.
all these hotkeys trying to get this to work.
Yeah, how'd you do that?
Okay.
Shift Z.
I don't know how to.
It's a GM thing.
Shift Z.
No, I don't think any of us can do it. But
No. I mean, I know you
Yeah.
guys can't do it, but at least I can help. So that if you guys need it
Yeah,
and the
I can bring
GM
them
is
up
doing
too.
something, I can Shift Z a thing for you.
Gotcha. Wow, that darkness is fully illegible. That was a bad decision. Whoever did that messed up.
Yeah, that's
Um,
Burning Wheel headquarters. But basically, what it is, darkness, you cannot read or draw your map. No cartography or scholar tests. You can only flee, riddle, or argue in a conflict. And it's also a factor in all tests.
what is a riddle refer to as actually telling riddles and stuff like that?
Yes, that's part of conflict. That was going to be the next thing. Does everybody have a decent idea on the light?
I think so.
Okay. So now conflicts. Conflict is almost like a mini game. There are different kinds of conflict. But if you look at the conflict sheet, there will be types of conflicts down the bottom of the page. Banish or abjure, capture, convince a crowd, drive off, kill, pursue or flee, trick or riddle, other. Conflicts happen more so when the group is engaging with something and it has a great amount of importance. A conflict could be an oral debate with another person. It could be trying to convince a group of people they need to leave Pompeii before the volcano explodes. It could be fighting a bunch of goblins. What happens when you get into conflict is one person is going to be the conflict leader. They will determine the disposition, which is kind of like hit points for the combat, as well as assigning the people who are going to be fighting and their actions. All conflicts can be broken down into 4 actions. Come on. Come on, kitty. There you go. I think I just hit the wrong button on that.
It's the cat's fault.
Yes, it is. It should come back when I recall, though. Alright. So, right now you got 3 of them. Defend, maneuver, and attack. The other one is a feint. I will read that off the sheet. What happens is you will pick 3 actions and 3 people out of your group. You'll take the cards. They'll be face down, so I don't know and none of you know. And you will say, Herrick is going to be the first one. Once Herrick comes up.
Okay.
And Maxima will be the second. Come on. There we go. And Roar would be the third one for the first round of combat. And you would then decide what combat actions they're taking. Attack, maneuver,
Thanks.
defend, feint. Each one of these reacts differently to the other actions. If, say you feint, try and trick somebody into getting themselves out of position, and they were trying to defend. Instead of it being a versus test where each side is rolling, then it would simply be the person feinting makes a roll, and however many successes you get, that's the damage you would do. If you look at the card, let me bring one up here.
Yes, look at my token.
If you go down the side, it has the different ones: attack, defend, feint, and maneuver. And it says what kind of test they would be. An attack versus an attack would be a 2 independent tests. You'd simply roll to damage each other. A defend versus an attack would be a versus test, where your defense can try and negate the attack. If the defense goes in excess of the attack, you get to basically heal other people. Think of it as it's not just your hit points, it's also morale, how long you're going to last in the fight with endurance. The maneuver, I will bring that one up. The big thing on the maneuver is you're getting a position on your opponent for the next round of attack. However much you succeed by depends on what you do to them. If you succeed, your margin of success is 1, then that opponent's going to get 1 less die. If you succeed by 2, it's 2 dice. If you succeed by 3, they're also disarmed, which means there's not a whole lot they can do until the next round of combat. There's a little more than that, but that's the general overview. And I would be doing the other side, and then we would flip first one, second one, third one. Almost like a rock, scissors, paper.
Is this is done with multiple things, so it's not just like weapons and fighting literally. It also is like you doing the debates and trying to close portals and stealing stuff and all that too.
I wouldn't say stealing stuff for all, but all those other ones, yes. And
Okay.
it's only if it is something very important. Otherwise, it will be handled with just a simple skill roll.
Okay.
Like the example I used before, if the dwarf was laying in ambush for the goblin to come running by, that wouldn't trigger a conflict. That would just be the fighter check to see if the dwarf successfully mashed the goblin in the head. But if the group engaged 5 goblins in a room, then that would be a conflict. Got a general idea on it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I'll
once
get
we
used
get
to
in,
this and play.
like I said, it's something that once you start playing it, it'll make a lot more sense. But I think that we are about ready to get started. If anybody wanted to take a quick break, I know I need a quick break. Maybe
Yeah,
2
I
minutes
could
or
use
so.
some tea.
Yep.
All right. We'll be back in about 2 minutes then.
All right.
Commercial break.